Hello, welcome to another episode of Global Lives. Today we are bringing specialists to talk about a special island in the Caribbean and how you can become a citizen from this place if you make an investment there. And we also have good news. This island we're talking about is St Lucia. And St. Lucia Citizenship by Investment Unit announced in January reduced price for foreign investors interested in purchasing real estate in the country or buying government bonds as a way to acquire citizenship. So we have brought in a team of specialists, and with me today I have Cindy Emmanuel McLean, consulting partner at TM Antoine consulting partner at TM Antoine Partners Law Firm. Sorry. And we also have our very own Joe Rice, who is a Caribbean specialist at Global Citizen Solutions. Thank you very much, Cindy and Joe, for being with us here today.
Thank
Cindy, all
you.
the way from
Good to
St.
see
Lucia.
you.
We're happy to be here.
Great. Well, first, before we start, as usual, I will dedicate a few seconds to talk about this live. So you will start with me asking a few questions to Cindy and Joe. We will also share some facts about St. Lucia since this is our first live about this beautiful place. And then we will open the Q&A and you will be able to ask your own questions. Feel free to jot down comments, questions in our chat if you need to go at any point. And also, important information, after we finish this live, we will publish on our YouTube channel, so it will be available there for you to look at and review many points that you might miss out during this live. And let me see. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. And if you haven't already done so, I would please ask you to give us a like to help this video go viral. So, Joe and Cindy, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes, so good news for our viewers who want to become citizens of this tiny island. We have packed lots of very interesting facts here, but I will go straight to the most important information right now, which is that real estate minimum investment has been reduced to $200,000 from $300,000. And for those interested in buying government bonds, the minimum investment is now 300,000, reduced from 500,000. Cindy, can you confirm these changes and give us a bit more information?
Absolutely. So I'm happy to be here and welcome to everybody who's listening to us today. Yes, recently the government of St. Lucia did announce significant reductions in the minimum investments in both the real estate option and the bond options. The real estate option used to be 300,000, which was among some of the higher ones in the Caribbean. At 200,000, St. Lucia is competing very favorably with a real estate option across the Caribbean. And for the bond option, after having ended the COVID-19 relief bonds, we were only left with the traditional government bonds, and that has been reduced from an entry level of 500,000 to 300,000.
Okay. Well, this is great news for investors. And then now tell me, there are the two investment routes, right? Which is the contribution to the National Economic Fund and the enterprise investment. Do they remain the same?
Yes, they do. There is no changes there. They remain the same. The entry requirement for the donations for a single applicant is $100,000. For the family of four, it's $150,000. And for the enterprise option, it's for those entrepreneurial spirited persons who want to start a business in St. Lucia. And for a mere investment of $3 million US for establishing the business, you can gain citizenship of St. Lucia.
Wow. Okay. So that is, so we will go through all the investment routes. We will also repeat ourselves, but it's not a problem at all. And talk about the discount again. But before I jump into other questions, I'd like to share with our viewers a video about this beautiful part of the world. And whilst our production is putting this video on, I will also share some facts about St Lucia. It is an island country in the Eastern Caribbean, famous for its beaches, rainforest, and the volcanic Piton volcanic mountains. And you can also drive by a volcano, okay? For 14 years in a row, St. Lucia was named the world's leading honeymoon destination at the World Travel Awards. And last year, it also received the title of Adventure Tourism Destination. It has a population of 180,000 in an area of 600 square kilometers. So basically, the whole country is smaller than New York City, and it's roughly the size of Chicago, just to give you some reference here. So I did a bit of research, Cindy and Joe. So I'm going to throw a few facts here, and then you tell me if you knew about it before. I'm sure Cindy knows because she's from St. Lucia. So apparently St. Lucia was the first country to be named after a woman. Is that correct, Cindy?
Yes, it is. It is correct. We are called the Helen of the West Indies because we were seen as one of the most desirable countries in the world because the British and the French fought over us ad nauseum for 14 times. So we were once British, then we were French, and it went back and forth 14 times. So we earned the nomenclature of being the Helen of the West Indies.
Right, that is quite remarkable. And then, but also read that there's only one country in the world named after women, and it's St. Lucia.
Yes, that's what we found, and that's a claim that we will continue to make until we discover otherwise.
Oh yeah, amazing. That's very feminist. I love it. And then Joe, quickly, do you know that you can drive by a volcano in St. Lucia? And it's the only place in the world that you can actually have a driving tour close to the volcano.
I did actually know about it after talking to Cindy before. And actually, I think I haven't done it yet, but Cindy's actually been on the tour. So she could tell us a little bit about it if she wants to. Let us know
What's
how
this
good
tour,
it is.
Cindy?
Yes. So it is, we do drive into the volcano. And what's even more amazing is that there are a number of hot springs that you can take what we think is a very healing bath. So you go in there, you have a soak. People put the mud all over them, and it's meant to have healing powers. So it's something that we as St. Lucians do, and visitors to St. Lucia have it on their must-do list.
Oh wow, that's definitely on my bucket list. Because when you read about St. Lucia and you find out, amazing resorts, it's fantastic, amazing food and so on. But there's also this element of a very green and lush nature, which is the reason why it won the Adventure Tourism Awards.
Yeah.
So my last point now, because I found out that the national dish is a dish called green figs and salty fish.
Yeah.
And then I thought, wow, that's amazing, green figs. But then I found out that you guys call green bananas figs. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So we do have green bananas. We used to export a tremendous tonnage of bananas to the United Kingdom. So back in the day, 15 years ago, any ripe banana you ate in the UK probably came from St. Lucia.
From St. Lucia.
Yes, but we do cook it green. We call it green figs, and the salted fish is salted codfish. I've discovered since I've started living in Canada part-time that they sell codfish and it's fresh, and I promise you it's not the same. The only way to have it is salted on green figs in St. Lucia.
Let me ask a question. What do you call figs then? If this is green figs,
We don't have the variation of figs that we get in like the Greek islands and stuff like that. We don't have that. We just have bananas, and for us, they were figs.
They were figs. Yeah, and there is a saying which I found, which is like if you haven't really eaten bananas until you eat a banana from St. Lucia.
That's true.
Okay,
That's
so
absolutely.
yeah. I do. So I'll definitely do a banana comparison guide next time when I go to St Lucia because I love bananas. Right. So if that got you, our viewer excited about St Lucia and you started looking for flights, let's jump onto the questions to find out about how you can get a citizenship from this fantastic place in the world. So. The country launched its citizenship by investment program back in 2015, which gives foreigners the opportunity of becoming St. Lucia citizens in exchange for an investment in the island. So each year, more and more people apply for the program. At the beginning of this live, in case you're joining us now, just now, we talked to Cindy about some of the program's recent changes. And but I'd like Cindy to give us an overview on the 4 investment routes that are available for anyone to become an investor and a citizen of St. Lucia, and then mention the discounts that are in the 2 routes, which is the real estate and the government bond.
Okay, great. So there are 4 options. The most popular one by far is the donation option. All it says to our potential investors is if you're willing to invest a minimum of $100,000 in the National Economic Fund of St. Lucia, that goes towards national development in St. Lucia. In exchange for that, and having met all the other minimum requirements, you can become a citizen of St. Lucia. You will be issued with a citizenship certificate. That is the most popular and perhaps the simplest option.
Okay.
The second option is an investment in an approved real estate project. So what the government of St. Lucia has done is, because tourism is so important to our economic development and it's responsible for so much of our GDP, we want to encourage touristic developments in the country. So what the government has done is that they've given approval to certain developers to develop those touristic developments and to invite investment into those through investors who want to purchase shares of that development in exchange for citizenship. So it's an option that was originally at $300,000. So you had to spend a minimum of $300,000 to purchase your share of that real estate. That has been reduced as of January to $200,000. The great thing
is there a time limit for this offer?
Right.
Cindy?
No, so at the moment there isn't. But one thing that I've found, and throughout the history of the program in St. Lucia and in the Caribbean, when something no longer works or when it becomes less desirable to potential investors, the unit and the government is constantly re-evaluating and trying to refresh what the offerings are to meet the demands of the market.
Okay.
So at the moment, there are no limits. That is what exists now, but there is no, I can't guarantee that that will never change. It may change for the better. So the thing about the real estate investment, though, is that there is an advantage. After a minimum 5-year holding period, the investors can sell that investment to any interested buyer and recoup that investment or even make a return on that initial investment. The third option is an investment in government bonds. These are government bonds that are non-interest bearing. The government of St. Lucia traditionally raises capital through the sale of bonds. Those bonds are sold. The investors need to hold them for 5 years. What the government will do, they will invest that capital that is raised. And at the end of the 5-year period, the investor again can redeem those bonds with the government of St. Lucia and recoup the initial investment. At the moment, that investment is $300,000 US. And then finally, the investment into the enterprise project, where persons who are interested in establishing business in St. Lucia and providing employment on the island can develop a business and get citizenship in exchange. The minimum requirement for that is $3 million US.
Okay. Right. That was a very very thorough overview of the four investment routes. And I think it's also important to remind our viewers that in terms of government bonds, that these bonds are no interest bearing.
Yeah.
But after 5 years, you can recover all your investments. I think you said that, but you said that for
Yes.
the real estate.
Yes.
So, Cindy, with all these recent changes, do you expect an increase in applications for citizenship this year?
Yeah, so not only do we expect it, we are already seeing it. We are seeing the increased interest in St. Lucia. We are getting more and more inquiries every day. We are getting more and more applicants every day. Um, the market seems to have responded very well to the changes made by the government. And they're also responding very well to not changes necessarily in the pricing, but changes in the way of doing business. The government right now has said that it's open for business. It's very proactive. It's very pro investment. It's taken a very pro investment stand. So when I started as the CEO of the unit many moons ago, because we were just coming into the space, we were very cautious. We were very risk adverse. We looked at every single reason to say you can't become a citizen, because as you would imagine, we were very concerned with not making a mistake and not falling afoul of
Yeah,
the law and afoul of what the expectations are. I think the program has matured enough now that there is a little more flexibility and a little more ease of doing business. So I think the market is responding to that, and we're seeing more interest and more activity.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I have a lot more questions for you, Cindy, but first let me acknowledge our viewers here. Some very interesting questions. We will address all at the end. Lots of hellos here. Someone who wants to know if you have to speak French in St. Lucia. Um, taxes and wait time for the citizenship approval. Great. So we will cover all of those topics now. So, Cindy, in all these cases, can you include your family in the applications?
Absolutely. The only thing you need to be aware of is what is defined as family.
Okay.
So for anybody applying, your spouse is defined as family, and spouse is somebody that you are married to. In the cases where people do have more than one wife, the program only considers the first person that you were married to as a wife.
Okay.
Your children are all considered your dependents, and they can be added. That there is an age limit to the children, though. Children from 0 up to 30 years old, on condition that they're fully dependent on you, they can be added to the application, and your parents can be added from the age of 55 years upwards.
Okay. So you said 30 years old for children.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so how long is the processing time for all for applications in all four routes?
Yeah. So processing time is not something that you can make a generalization about. It's
Mm-hmm.
very specific to the circumstances of the applicant. I always give the example of footprints. So
Yeah.
somebody with a very small footprint, like me, well, kind of like me, who was born in one country, has worked in only two countries in their life. I have not lived extensively in more than two countries. It's very easy for the due diligence firms to do a DD on me. They can
Yeah.
find me. I'm easy. I'm simple. For somebody who has a wider footprint, they've lived in multiple countries over the last 10 years. They have multinational businesses where their businesses operate across numerous countries, where they've lived and worked in numerous countries. They have a bigger footprint, and it takes a longer time
Yeah.
for the due diligence to go through before a result can be derived. So I generally say to folks that in the best case scenario, you're looking between 45 and 60 days. In the worst case scenario, you're looking at 90 to upwards of 90 days. Some
Okay.
cases, extreme cases, take even longer than that.
Okay, so it's a case by case situation, but you gave us a good idea. It all depends on the footprint of the client. Um, Joe, hey, I want to ask you
Hi.
a question. Are you there? Don't forget about you.
I'm just getting more information.
Good, good, because we've got some interesting questions to fire you. Why do you think the St Lucia passport is a good investment, Joe?
I mean, there's lots of different reasons, but with a St Lucia passport, you can travel to over 140 countries visa free, and then you can also make use of a lot of series of tax incentives for St Lucian citizens. So, for example, you won't pay tax on worldwide income, and there are no capital gains tax or inheritance tax. So that can be very interesting for your asset portfolio.
Okay. And then, Joe, you've been working with this program for quite some time. Can you give us an idea on why people, what are you looking for when they're applying for Lucia Citizenship?
Well, different clients are looking for different options, so they all differ, but they range from looking for a plan B to relocating, tax incentives, ease of access to countries. With the passport they might be holding at the time, that might not give them visa-free access. So it's easier for them with a second citizenship, but it's all individual. So getting to know the client and understanding what their needs are, that's a key part to this process.
Yeah. And then Cindy, she explained to us that there are four investment routes. And from the clients you've been working with, Joe, what's the favorite among applicants and why?
Well, again, I think Cindy touched on it as well, but to be honest, there's no favorite. But I would say the donation option is very popular, especially if people are looking for visa-free access to certain countries. It's a very popular option for business people that may not have a strong passport, so saves them time and saves the hassle of having to apply for visas for certain countries. And then for people that are looking for an investment, then obviously the real estate or government bond options are more interesting for them. And getting some sort of return for them is a plus side.
Okay. So before we explore more about the and open the Q&A, since you mentioned real estate, I'd like to explore more on that route. And so, Cindy, you mentioned that the real estate is an option, there is a discount. So, can you tell us how's the real estate market at the moment, and how easy it would be for applicants to resell their property afterwards?
So in St. Lucia, property sales for real estate is a booming market.
Mm,
We're constantly we have a very wide range of property available. Most of the investors that I have worked with who are interested in buying property are interested in higher end property, and there is an inventory of that on the market that moves very quickly. So somebody investing in St. Lucia who wants to purchase real estate should not be hesitant for fear that they won't be able to resell that. I think
mhm.
it's going to be very good. There are a couple of real estate agents that we've worked with and we recommend all of the time that are excellent at what they do. So that's also an option.
Okay.
Mhm.
And, and then, have you noticed any changes in the clients in the last few years? Do they have different reasons to look for citizenship, or do they want different things?
Clients want different things depending on, like Joe said, depending on their motivation. But generally, the motivations fall into one of three categories, I think. There are people who really need to travel freely
Mm-hmm.
around the globe, and their national passport does not allow them that luxury. So they're looking expressly for ease of travel. They want a passport that when they show up at an airport with it, or when they decide to buy a ticket, they don't have a long wait for a visa. And St. Lucia affords them that. We have another set of folks who are thinking futuristically. They want to plan their future and they want an option, either because they're living in a country that's not friendly to them when it comes to taxes and when it comes to investments, or they're living in a country that's not very easy living, and they want that second option. They want to know that in the event that they want to move, there is an option, and they look to the Caribbean, they look to St. Lucia for that option.
Yeah.
Again, because it's easy to get to. So if you're in London, within 8 hours, you're in St. Lucia. If you're in Miami, within 4 hours, you're in St. Lucia. In New York, 6 hours. In Toronto, 5 hours. So it's a very easy place to get to and to move back and forth. And then we have the third, arguably smaller group who look at a second citizenship as a luxury item. They want the ability to say, I'm a global citizen.
Okay.
I'm a citizen of St. Lucia. I'm a citizen of 3-4 countries. I've had people come to me who already have 5 passports, who already have 5
They
citizenships.
collect passports.
They collect those citizenships. So it's a status, symbol and a luxury item.
I see. And then how about you, Joe? What do you see with your clients? What are their motivations?
Well, I was just about to say, actually, I need to mention about the real estate that we had mentioned. And I think we need to describe that a little bit more, because the real estate in St. Lucia, when you invest in real estate, it's actually a share in, say, for example, a luxury resort or property. It's not a freestanding property or a family home. So I do get a lot of clients that when they see real estate, they automatically think, oh, it's a family home. I'm going to go and buy a home and I can stay there for 3 months of the year. But, you know, we do have to mention that it's not, that option's not available in St. Lucia at the moment. So if I'm right, Cindy, the best option for the client that's looking for real estate, if they're looking to either relocate or have a, you know, a home that maybe they can rent out or go and stay in 3 months of the year, they're better off to go for the donation option and then find a property of their choice, because once they become a citizen, then they're free to choose any property they would like.
Okay,
So
that's very important information. Thanks for sharing that, Joe.
No problem.
Cindy, do you have anything else to add before I
No,
move to
Joy is absolutely right. We have done so for a number of our clients who wanted to invest. They come in and say from the very beginning, I would like to buy a home in St. Lucia. So what we do is that we work a dual process for them. While we work on the citizenship, we also work on helping them identify a property that's going to suit them. And right now, if I walk on the beach in St. Lucia, I'll probably meet 2 or 3 of my clients who've moved and are living in their new property at the moment.
Okay, so soon you will meet more clients, hopefully coming from this live. Okay, so then to finalize here, no, I actually have a couple more questions before I open the Q&A. Sorry, I keep saying that. So, Joe, I want to understand why would someone choose citizenship by investment in St. Lucia instead of another program in the Caribbean?
Well, to start with St. Lucia, if you're a single applicant, St. Lucia is the most cost effective. And as Cindy had mentioned earlier, it's one of the easiest islands to access with direct flights from major airports or by sea. And then, as we said, you know, thinking about that relocating and buying that property, you've got to remember that St. Lucia has gorgeous beaches, friendly locals, and amazing food. And what was it? Green figs and
Saltfish.
Salty cod.
Salty cod.
There you go.
Cool. And then again, why would I choose? Because you mentioned donation, but it's still quite not clear. What's the advantages against real estate?
Well, if you're not looking to relocate, then the donation option is a lot more simple. It's quicker. It's very cost effective, as said before, straightforward, and you don't need to look for a property or anything, you know, which can take time. So it's also I think, a quicker route to getting the citizenship.
Okay. No, that's great. So it's more straightforward, and that's definitely seemed like a best route to go. So Now I have to open the Q&A because we reached our the 31-minute mark, and this should supposed to be no more than 35 minutes. So I will what I will do now. I will, because a couple of questions here, some are a bit repetitive, so I will, but they are approaching topics within the same theme. So I will just group them into one question. So just give me a moment so I can go through those questions here. Um, um,
And one, sorry to interrupt you then.
sure.
One quick question. You were saying about spouses. Now, I do get clients that, there's the fact of common law, wife or husband.
Hmm.
Can that be included, or they do have to be legally married with a marriage certificate?
They need to be legally married with a marriage certificate. But the advantage is if within 5 years of getting your citizenship, you do get married to a long-term partner or a new partner, that person can be added to your application as if they were part of it from the very beginning.
Okay, so almost be a single applicant and then add once you get married. Okay,
Yes, yes.
great. This
Okay.
is a question I get asked.
Right, and then we have one here. It's on the real estate route. So if you choose the real estate investment, do you actually own that property? Do you own the share of the property?
So you do own the share of the property. What happens is that the developer will enter into an agreement with you. The agreement clearly defines what the ownership of the share means, how much access you have to the property, what return on investment you will get as being a co-owner of the property. Because like Joe said, it's a luxury resort. So what will happen is that it will have multiple owners, each owning one or more shares to that property. And the
Okay.
rights that come with being a shareholder are enshrined in that agreement.
Okay, I see.
Mhm.
So that's answered. There's one question here: the expected wait time for the citizenship approval, which is something Cindy has touched in the beginning of this live. So let me test my knowledge now. So best case scenario 45 days, worst case scenario 45 to 90 days, 90 days up to a year,
No, 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 no.
6 months. Gosh, I'm not paying attention.
No, a year would mean that we didn't do our job in the beginning. Because what we do as an agency is we're very careful when we put in the file together.
Okay.
We depend on our applicants being totally honest with us.
Yeah.
If there is anything in your background that we know for sure will result in a denial, we will let
Hmm.
you know and we will say to you, do not apply. Or we will say to you, before you can apply, here are the steps you must take. So
Yeah.
if you're applying with us through our agency, through Joe and ultimately me, and you're waiting a year, then we didn't do our jobs properly.
Okay.
That's not gonna happen.
Okay. So I now have a very good question that is a good follow up on your answer, Cindy.
Mhm.
Um, how can you guarantee my application won't be rejected?
So I can't guarantee that. What I can guarantee two things. I can guarantee one, that once we've decided that we're going to work with you to submit your application,
Hmm.
that it will be accepted by the unit for processing. So it will be processed. However, we do not know. We do not know what the unit will find during the DD. And that's where the tipping point happens.
Hmm.
Once the due diligence starts happening, depending on what the unit finds, they make a decision as to whether or not your application will be approved.
Okay.
Also, we don't have control over time. So you may have started off the application in one condition, but over the 2 month period, over the 3 month period, over the 1 month period, something in your circumstances have changed, which can result in a rejection. So we don't guarantee approvals. We guarantee you that if your file is going to be rejected, we will know beforehand and we will guide you
Yeah.
accordingly.
Yeah, by that time we'll have a good overview of what could happen with the application.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Now I've got a question here. Sorry, I'm just running out because it's quite important and we have to finish. It's about taxes. So what are the tax benefits of becoming a citizen of St. Lucia?
So for folks who have a big footprint, like I'm talking about, and who earned worldwide income, I was born in St. Lucia. I'm a citizen
Mhm.
of St. Lucia. However, I don't pay tax on any income I make in Canada. St. Lucia
Okay.
does not have a double taxation kind of approach to taxes. So because I didn't work and earn that money in St. Lucia, I'm not going to be taxed on it. The
I
other
see.
thing that's very attractive to our clients is that there is no inheritance tax, like Joe was saying, and no capital gains tax, both of which can be pretty hefty tax regimes to deal with. I
Yeah.
am not a tax expert. We do have a tax expert that we work with that would be able to advise individuals based on their individual circumstances before making the decision just based on a tax benefit basis.
Yeah, that's great. Just get in touch with us and then we will find out all about the tax scenario for, in your case,
Yes.
particular case. So
Mhm.
now I've got another question. It's a very interesting one. Iranians living in Iran, can they apply for this program or are they banned?
So we recently banned, we just had a flip flop recently
Yeah.
because we recently opened back up to Iranians, but it was just closed again on February 20th. Our program is impacted by international and global issues. And
Mm-hmm.
depending on what is happening in the globe and what the posture of the rest of the world is, given the reactions to particular global events, it does have an impact on the program. It's unfortunate because we're well aware that individual Iranians or individual Russians or Belarusians who are both banned as well may not necessarily be part and parcel of
Yeah.
whatever is happening globally, but it's difficult to make that distinction for the unit. So what happens is that there is a ban on an entire nation, and at the moment, Iranians are banned.
Okay.
Hmm.
And any, do you think this could change?
I think there is a big desire for it to change because that is one of the countries that we do get a lot of business from. Just from our agency's perspective, we've had to be communicating with a number of our clients to say,
Yeah.
sorry, we can't continue with your application, and that's never pleasant. We keep looking forward for it to change, but that is outside of our
Yeah.
control at the moment.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. And then I have one last question before we close the live. But if your questions haven't been answered here, do not worry. This video will be published on our YouTube channel, and that will allow our team to answer your questions in the comment section. Okay, section. So, does the investment rate increase if you add children and parents?
Yeah, so the minimums that I was talking about always starts with a single
Mhm.
applicant. And as we add dependents, then the investment goes up incrementally in most cases. What anybody who is interested in doing should do is to
Mhm.
send Joe inquiry with the composition of your family. And composition is important with ages because the age of the dependent also affects the quantity of the change. So send
Yeah.
Joe an inquiry. He will be able to tell you what your estimate is.
Yeah, and with the just to mention on that, with the the makeup of the family, it doesn't jump to
Mhm.
huge different pricing. It's pretty minimal for adding. Say, for example, you go from a husband and wife to adding three children. It's still pretty minimum, and again, depending on the ages of the children. So
I
it's
see.
not a huge jump in price.
Hmm. Okay. Right, right. That's good. Thank you, guys. I'd like to thank Cindy and Joe for talking to us and answering so many questions. And I'm sure everyone watching us will be right now checking flights for St Lucia. I will surely be checking. And if you have any more questions, again, please feel free to ask here. Or if you'd like to organize a call with Joe, and he will also be able to talk about this St. Lucia Citizenship by Investment Program. So go to our website, globalcitizensolutions.com, and you will be able to book an appointment directly there. Is there anything else, Cindy and Joe, that you would like to add before we close here?
I think just one quick thing. Cindy was talking about the DD, which is the industry term, the due diligence. We like to do what we call pre-due diligence to try and get the client pre-approval, just to make it easier for the client. Once the client knows that, okay, I've been pre-approved, then as much as possible we're going to get them approved for the program. But it's good to do that. That's something we offer. We do that right at the beginning, just as a thing we offer to do for them, just to, I guess, make them feel a bit more comfortable applying for the program. And all we ask is that, clients are just 100% transparent with us, that's what we ask, and it makes the job a lot more simple.
I can imagine, yeah. Okay, fine. So make note of it. That is the option of a pre-due diligence, and that's it. We reached the final act of our live. Thank you very much, Cindy and Joe. And just before we leave, a quick reminder to our viewers: if you are interested in Antigua and Barbuda, we are also hosting a live next Wednesday. About at the same time here with Joe and other two specialists in the region. And that's it. I hope to see you next week. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.